5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I figured out that.
Oh, are we recording right now?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't tell you. Yeah, we're recording.
Oh. Hi, everybody. Welcome
So,
to another episode of the Pursuit of Music podcast.
the low and slow. Did you ever listen to that jazz radio? I think it was 107.5.
The Oasis?
Yes.
My dad loved that.
My dad loved that channel too.
Yeah.
I loved the guy's voice because it was so deep and resonant. It made the whole truck like shake.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up listening to Kenny G and Pat Metheny and Steely Dan and Yanni and all those people that make me sick these days. Yeah, that's why my dad. That was my dad's jam.
Yeah, it was between that and the Eagle. He was always listening to.
Yeah, that was me doing the Eagle.
Dude,
but
rock music is great.
Yeah.
Of course, you're the one who you have your speaker, and you. What were you doing the other day? You were playing screamo music on.
That's right. Yeah. I wonder if I had that. Yeah. So, just for
I love it.
This is a great thing for a podcast. For those people who didn't know me in high school, which is almost all of the people listening. So I listened to two things in high school, and I was the coolest guy ever because I had a subwoofer in my car in the trunk, and it took out the entire trunk.
You're one of those kids.
Oh yeah. My rearview mirror would shake. When
did you pop your collar? Like, did you wear polos and pop the collar?
No, I was never that guy.
Okay, good.
So I listened to Beethoven, and then I would listen to things kind of like this. So that was me. That was me in high school. It was pretty awesome. And I'd bop down the street to, I don't know, like music of the Santa Clara Vanguard or Korn.
Just roll down your window. Someone looks at you, just go beep. Play a nice little G right at them.
Yeah. Some people thought I was a nerd, but I thought I was cool.
I mean, that's a great question that he poses in the song. How could it all be?
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Very deep.
Yeah. It's philosophy. We're starting this episode really well.
Yeah, it's actually so. I've been watching other podcasts for inspiration, and you gotta love Joe Rogan. Like, he just probably because he has on like extremely famous people.
Yeah.
But his format is great. I'd love to have a setup like that one day. Have you ever watched one of his?
I've heard. I've never watched.
Yeah, you should watch it. It's good. It's good to see how they do the cinematography of it all. I think they have enough technology to where they don't have to do any editing. They just film on the spot, and the guy's got the 4 screens, and he can just switch up to screens as they're recording. So when they stop recording, they're done. Like, they don't have to edit anything out unless they need to for like copyright reasons or whatever.
I feel like we need a guy that we can be like, hey, Peter.
Yeah, they all have guys.
Will you load that clip for us?
Yeah, they all have guys, and the problem is with those shows is the guys start butting in, and I'm like, who are you?
Right.
Nobody cares about you and your opinion. It's Joe Rogan, and then if he has on a guest, it'll be like, the Queen of England or something. So
yeah, he gets big time guests, and then he has people that I've never heard about in my life. But
I don't know the exact number. I'm gonna be the computer guy. Hey, computer guy, look up how many Joe Rogan podcasts are on the interwebs. It's a ridiculous amount.
I think I heard that he gets like 300 million downloads per episode, which is almost the entire population of America downloads one of his episodes.
That's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think the last episode he did was 1,311.
Yeah, it was like an MMA guy, right?
David Pacman.
No, that was some journalist. That guy, I listened to the whole thing.
His 1 week ago, he did an episode with Wiz Khalifa. We were just talking about Wiz Khalifa.
Yeah.
Wow. So, anyway, we're supposed to be talking about something.
Yeah.
So, why don't you came up with a topic? I think it's a great topic. Obviously, it's something that I resonate with. I want to write a book on this eventually.
Wow.
Actually,
That'd be a great topic.
This is a great time to ask you. Do you want to co-author that book?
Sure.
It's going to be called
I got nothing going on.
the $1 Million Music Teacher.
Yeah.
So we can just talk about how. Well, why don't you introduce the topic?
Okay, so I'll introduce it with a story. So I'm a traditional guy, and
What do you mean?
in that I just do things in the traditional way, I guess. I'm about to explain one of the traditional ways.
Okay.
If you let me get to my story.
No.
Okay.
I'm very lost.
So anyway, I'm married now, and before I got engaged, I wanted to ask permission from my future and father-in-law if I could propose to my now wife. And so,
Old school, man.
yeah.
I like it though.
In the it was those are hard conversations because, you know, like as a guy you have to kind of deal with the fact that you're submitting to another man, but also it's just, you know, nerve-wracking to do. And that first conversation I remember didn't go very well because I think there were several reasons, and one of the reasons is because the appearance of what I do for a living as a musician was that I didn't have a stable career. And that is not my father-in-law's fault. That is just the common perception of what we do for a living.
Yep.
And so I wanted to bring up the idea that that this is actually a career that people do and don't starve. If anyone's ever met me and looked at me, you know I'm not starving.
I was going to
starving at
ask
all.
if you're okay.
Yeah, I'm not emaciated.
You're thinning out a little bit.
Yeah.
It's scaring me.
I eat a lot. Eat a lot.
Which food requires money.
It does.
Yep.
It does. And we don't live outdoors.
What
We
do you
have a
mean?
home.
Oh, you don't? Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, we live indoors and we eat food.
That's
So
really
that
nice.
means that it requires some money. And so, you know, I have lots of students that I think love the idea of being in music for their life. And either they are scared of possibly pursuing a career in music, or their parents are concerned because it's not seen as a stable field, or both. And I think it'd be really valuable for us to kind of break down what does a music career look like? Why would you want to go into this? Because the reality is that this actually does work as a career. If you look at the span of human history, there have been professional musicians around for thousands of years.
So
who do
obviously
this as
it
their
works.
living. Right.
Yeah.
It's one of the older professions in the world. It's older than being an engineer. It's older than being, anything in technology. It's older than any mechanics it's older than all that. It may not be older than being an engineer, but probably close.
Yeah, it's got to be getting around that that span. So I would say let's talk about some myths. So
Right.
obviously myth number one, the big one, is that musicians are poor. Private lessons teachers are poor, that we don't make a bunch of money. I know private lessons teachers that claim they're poor.
Yeah.
And it's, I get that there are, students that miss lessons, or sometimes we're sick and we miss a day of lessons, or unexpected things happen and what have you. But for the most part, it's just like you can crunch the numbers. If you have 80 kids and each kid, just for simple math, pays $20 a lesson, it's $1,600 a week.
Mm-hmm.
And you multiply that by 4,
That's $6,400 a month.
you're doing fine.
Yeah.
And now,
For those of you who haven't done the math on that, $6,400 a month times 12 is $76,800 a year on private lessons.
I don't know in what career that's a bad income.
Yeah.
Like, especially for somebody who just left college with their bachelor's degree. I mean, now it depends on your level of aspiration, obviously.
Right.
Like, but
That's not slap your boss money.
yeah. But that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that name a career field.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're like an electrical engineer, I mean, I think my cousin's husband is an electrical engineer. And he started out just like, I think he was just beneath the 6-figure mark, which is also not slap your boss money, and it's only 20 or so $1,000, but that is such a seen as such a respected field of like, if you want to make a bunch of money, go be an engineer. So the point that I was making is like, we're right there, and by the way, 80 lessons is 40 hours a week. I know many people in their career fields that work 60, 70, 80 hours a week and make much less than that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's myth number one, and it's a numbers crunching thing. We don't have to prove that; just do the math, right? So that myth number one is out of the way. Myth number two. Can we think of another myth?
Well, I mean that's a big one. I know you look at. I think the second myth has to come from history, and we look at the idea of a bohemian, which was a concept that came up in the 1800s in Europe.
Okay.
And are you familiar with the bohemian?
No.
The bohemian
I heard the
is
song.
the outcast artist that looks weird, is withdrawn from society. They're the type of people that have chosen to do what they do for a living because their art just means so much to them, and the rest of the world be darned. And so you think about, well, have you ever seen the movie Moulin Rouge? The Ewan McGregor character, he is a bohemian. He leaves his wealthy family and he goes to move to Paris into a cruddy apartment to write books on love.
That sounds just like, remember earlier you were talking about the stigma? That's the stigma. I mean, I'm just going to interrupt real quick. I mean, my own dad was, when I told him that I wanted to pursue music as a career, the first thing he said was, "You're not going to make a bunch of money."
Yeah.
And that's just, and I, to be honest, I've totally proven him wrong.
Yeah.
And he's admitted that to me, but that's the thing, that's why we're talking about it. So,
right.
Anyways, the character is, he's in a Paris apartment.
So anyway, that's what a bohemian is. The only difference between Moulin Rouge and an actual bohemian in history is that bohemians looked weird, and they wouldn't have Ewan McGregor look weird, or else you wouldn't buy the movie. But the hippies, that's a neo-bohemian movement.
Okay.
And so because that movement came back in the 60s and 70s, we still think that that's the concept of an artist. And that's not really the concept of an artist. Artists have been successful people for a long time. And
I actually don't know many people like that are like that would fit that bohemian characteristic.
I know college students that are like that.
Right.
But usually they either change or they become something else.
Mm-hmm.
Because that mentality doesn't actually make it work in music. And so anyway, that's the perception, I think.
Yep.
And gosh, there was something that you said that I was gonna piggyback on. I remember having brunch with there's a lady that I know who'll go nameless, that she always asks me, well, how's your music thing going? Have you ever had that question before?
No, but I can see it's when people pose that question, it's very cautious.
Right. It's like,
how is the lessons thing going?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
and
much.
I always say, well, it's going fine. And she goes, and then she always follows it up with, it's so glad that you're doing something that you love, which, she's trying to be nice, but you read between the lines, and what she's saying is that you're so brave to have given up this potentially stable career in something else to do something and, go out on a limb.
Well, let me interject on the stability thing real quick. And let's just use our brains here. Would you rather have 80 clients with the potential risk of losing 1, 2, 3 if you're really bad over the course of the semester, or one job that you can get fired from immediately?
Yeah. 80
What sounds
clients.
more stable?
Yeah. That's the J. Paul Getty model.
That's business, dude. The company First Valet has eight different clients that we're working with right now, and
Yeah.
we've got. I just got off the phone with the other owner, and we've got others teed up. We have 8 different streams of income. That's how I see it. We have 8 checks coming in. And you know what I want? 800 checks coming in. And then after 800, I'll want 8,000, But as far as stability goes, when people start talking to you about stability, you need to really think about it, because like we already crunched the numbers, we've already gone through that. When you have one thing that you're doing it's the sole provider of your check, you better be doing a freaking great job and be super valuable.
Because if you lose it, that's it.
You go from, like, if you lose a student, you go from 76,000 to like 75,000 over the course of the year, I think, about.
And maybe not even that much. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can make that up that fast. You can replace that student that fast.
Yeah, in a week.
That job, no, sir.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. You were saying something.
Well, first of all, I should remind you to get closer to your mic. Because I made the mistake last time of being like way out here, and
I'm still in it, dude.
and Ben sent me all these messages saying, "Dude, how can I remind you to stay close to
You
your
started so nice. It was right here in center, and then by the end of the podcast, you were over here.
mic?" Right.
And it was really great information, but it was like kind of had to lean in to hear it.
So I think there's 3 things that we need to address.
Okay.
The first thing is what does a music career look like? What are the components to it? The
Okay.
second thing I think we need to look at is what is the right way to approach a music career? How do you know that maybe is a career that you want to do? And the third one is, how do you retire from music and provide, do the financials?
Yep.
You want to take one of those?
Which one's the first one was
What does it look like?
what does it look like?
Yeah.
Sure. It's pretty black and white, especially if you take private lessons. If you don't, basically you do run your own company, but thank God for programs like My Music Staff. Being a music teacher now is so much easier.
Oh yeah.
I had a short experience. I think in Houston I had 6 students, and it was a nightmare to try to get billing and keep track of everything. And you'd have parents paying cash and then accusing you of they'd owe $300 and they'd say show me why.
Right.
And you try to show them on your handwritten calendar, and then you'd be accused of cheating and stuff and whatever. But now this program has made it to where I can go in there and schedule an entire month's worth of lessons in about an hour, and each one of them is tracked, logged. Every family account can be viewed. So typically it's very much, for me, this is my experience, it's very much like a regular 9-to-5 job.
Mm-hmm.
Hours are going to vary a little bit, and you have a little bit more flexibility, which is something that I really enjoy, right? Like if I want to do operational stuff during the day, I can chop out the middle of my day and just teach around that, or just cut out students,
Right.
So it's very much you create your own schedule. It's a good opportunity to learn what it's like to run your own company, because you do have to keep track of all your numbers. You have to do all of the business aspects of it, and you have to do it yourself. But it's not hard. That's the thing, is it's not hard.
Yeah. I would say that's the center. That's the center of your career is teaching. So when you're putting if you're a freelancer, that's what you got to realize. Your center is going to be teaching, and then you have all these offshoots outside of that.
Yep.
So what kind of offshoots do you have?
I have a lot of offshoots. So, and then let's talk about this real quick. Getting started, you often don't walk into a scenario where you have 50 kids given to you.
Right.
My scenario here in Prosper was I was given 1 kid, and I kind of got the good luck. So when you need to eat, you do what it takes to build up a studio and gain influence, and it helps to be a good player, obviously. Outside of that, I had a job at Lowe's, I had a job at a daycare, and I had the valet trash job. So I was working 4 jobs at once. But at least in the career that I'm working on, there's light at the end of the tunnel, right? And honestly, for me, the diversification of my time and my jobs really helped me out. I like doing that.
Right.
And it helps me when music is not just the one thing that I do. I really enjoy teaching. I feel like if I were to teach 90 students a week and it's the only occupation that I have, I would go absolutely bananas.
I think I would too. Now, I know people who do that and they seem to love it.
Yeah.
But
And that's one thing too. If you're considering doing a career in music, you need to be introspective. Look at ask yourself these questions. Okay, what if, enter a scenario, what if, how would you feel in that scenario? Are you more of a person that likes diversification? Some people really, like you said, some people really, really like just one thing.
yeah.
So try to figure out which side of the aisle you're on that front. And then obviously outside of that, it got to where I got to 80 plus students. So as you get to 80 plus students, you can shed the Lowe's job, shed the daycare job.
Right.
And I was fortunate enough to be talented in the management position for a valet trash company. This one. And
Free advertising.
Free advertising. Check it out. So now I am one of the owners of the company, and I do. What's great is everybody has their lane. I really like doing the organizational stuff. They hate it.
Right.
It and they're great at sales and they're great at bookkeeping. The other two people, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to. This doing the operational stuff, the stuff that I do, absolutely fires me up. So if you're ever, that's another just a quick side point. If you're in an organization, you need to have lanes, right? Like Michael Attaway is the trumpet teacher. Ben Nobles is the trombone teacher. I'm not going to try to teach trumpet, and he's not going to try to teach trombone, right?
I've tried it. It's terrible.
I still don't know where fifth position is. So
yeah.
I'll tell you if I figure it out. So anyways, yeah, that's what a music career looks like for me. It's never more than 40 hours. I mean, if you count breaks, it's more than 40 hours, but that's a break, so I don't really count it. So there are some days where you teach from 7 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon, and that's okay. I mean, I've got my grandfather worked 3 jobs his entire life.
Right.
I mean, he would work 14-hour days, so it's a suck it up buttercup mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's my experience. I don't know how you got started out or whatever.
Yeah, I started working at through high school and built up a studio pretty quickly. And then, so that's always been my core. And then I've had other positions that have kind of been supplement to that. I'm a member of the Richardson Symphony, and so that pays being a part of that. And yeah, and I've played in several ensembles around. So, I gig around town. Playing church gigs and weddings and things like that, and every one of those is, I think the going rate nowadays for a musician is about $100 per time you show up at a gig.
Yep.
And some are better, some are worse than that. But so a Richardson Symphony gig where we have Thursday night rehearsal, Friday night rehearsal, Saturday morning rehearsal, Saturday night performance. You walk away with about $500.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And, that happens once a month. And so that's pretty cool. I've got a job at a local college and held that for a while, teaching adjunct courses. And that was kind of a, well, let's see how that is. And I ended up enjoying it.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're doing the diversification thing too. Yeah. You're just doing it within the realm of music, which, I know you personally, so I know that you have other diversification that you do.
Right.
Outside of that, right? So,
right. But as far as putting that together, there's actually good books on this. They're both by David Cutler. I don't know if you've read these.
Mm-mm.
There's one called The Savvy Musician that everyone who ever wants to put together a playing career has got to read. And then there's another one called The Savvy Music Teacher. And The Savvy Music Teacher, the subtitle of that is How to Make $100,000 a Year in Your Own Private Studio, which is a good tagline.
Yeah, that's a gripper.
And you know what? He lays it out, and we're not talking like this is not an unobtainable goal. Now you have to work hard, but
right. I'll just say this, dude. My sister works her freaking tail off, and she's an commercial interior designer.
Uh-huh.
and I mean she's not making slap your boss money, is that what you call it?
Right. Yeah.
So whatever career you choose, you know what, and as long as this whole do what you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life, bull crap, bull freaking crap. That's so. I hate stuff like that because the idea of it's like, do you ever have a bad day with your friend?
Of course you do.
Of course you do. You're going to have a bad day. You're going to have a day where you wake up and you don't want to do it. If that's every day, that's a problem. But it's going to happen. So just, I think with what does it look like to have a music teaching career? Is How do you feel if I say when you know, like you want to be a music teacher? Or you want to, sorry, let me rephrase that. You want to do music as a career.
Well, I think you're called to it.
Yeah.
Um,
And God, the way you say it, it's like, or the way we say it, so it's like so sacrificial. It's like, it's just like what what you were saying earlier with the lady, like, oh, poor me. Or I was talking to somebody the other day, and it was, I was in Colorado on vacation. I just met somebody, and she's an art teacher, and she was like, oh, what we do is so great in advancing the art, and I'm like, for just conversation's sake, I was like, yeah, and I agreed with her.
Yeah.
It just sounds so snobby.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we are just advancing the culture of the arts. It's like, oh, geez. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think a lot of teachers will get messiah complexes about that sort of stuff. And
yeah.
It sounds like she kind of has a little bit.
Well, it's like, so, like, exactly what we're talking about. We're sacrificing our checks. You probably make like $60,000 a year. And you're one of the lucky teachers that makes good money. It's like, I know a lot of teachers. We're all doing fine.
Right.
Like last I checked, we're not in the breadlines or
Right.
whatever. Which
you were going on vacation.
I'm going on vacation again next week.
Yeah.
Going to Florida. And anyway.
So, here's what I tell my students a lot as far as how you should go to music, is that it's not just you find it fun. It's can you imagine yourself waking up every day and the first thought you have is, I want to get better. I want to get better at music.
Great. I love that. Yeah.
And being okay with that. Some people are just not okay with that. But, it's the first thing I think about professionally each day.
Yeah, I think that's...
I want to wake up and get better.
And yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it, because I love playing trombone a lot. Like, it's like when I think about playing it genuinely sounds fun. So I guess to wrap this all up, this portion is, if you don't have a strong desire, and this goes for everybody. I don't care if I want to be a band director. You need to love your instrument.
Yeah.
You have to be good at one thing. And I hate this whole, like, I don't know how it was for you, but at the University of Houston where I went, I love it. Great university. I had a wonderful professor. I can't say enough good things about it. There was this thing where people sucked at their instruments in lieu of, I'm going to be an educator. Really? Really? You're going to inspire kids to practice when you can't inspire yourself to practice? There's the door. I'll be like, you can get out. That's ridiculous. If you're going to go into a career, I don't care what you're doing in music, you have to love playing your instrument.
Yeah, the last thing that the education field needs is another person who just is so. They're doing it because... Yeah.
They're everywhere.
I mean, excel at what you're doing.
Yeah.
So maybe we cut this in a couple parts.
I was going to say, I think we should do a 3-part series.
Yeah, because the finance side, I think, is important, because people bring up, well, how do you pay for health insurance, or how do you
retire?
Retire is a big one.
Yep.
So maybe that's what we do, and I wonder if we can open this up for some questions.
Absolutely, I think so. Yeah, we can.
How do you want to do that? Through Facebook?
Comments on the YouTube, or
comments on YouTube,
or just send us emails. Don't send us emails.
Well, you can.
Is it PRST?
PRST of music
Music
at gmail.com.
gmail.com.
So the word pursuit doesn't have any vowels in it.
Yeah.
And you can go to our website, pursuitofmusic.com, and
First
you can
of music.
you can actually just email us through the website. But
Yeah.
I mean, send in some questions and let's hash this thing out, because
Yeah.
I think this is something that people are interested in, but they're just assuming that this will never work for them.
Yeah, and it's crazy because these are people who are very heavily involved in the industry itself.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing you're going to have to get over is the negative influence of others. I was told time and time and time again that I did not want to be. They would tell me that I don't want to be a private lessons teacher.
Right.
Why? Because, dude, just trust me. Just trust me. You don't want to do that. I've never regretted it.
Yeah.
Ever. I've never, ever looked at a band director and been envious of anything. Not their salary, not their... I mean, I've had directors tell me that my job is 90% teaching, 10% emails.
Mm-hmm.
Their job is 90% emails, 10% teaching. And that makes me want to barf.
Right.
Right? I love teaching.
And not that there's anything wrong with being a band director.
Right.
I think that's a great field too.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have to have them, right?
Right. Well, and you know.
But I don't go to band. The point I was going to make is, like, I don't go to band directors and tell them you're gonna hate that you're a private lessons or you're not a private lessons teacher. You picked the wrong field.
Right.
Just let me do my thing, man.
Yeah.
And you know, you do yours.
Yeah, I think we could really unpack this a lot, and this is just kind of a little teaser at the beginning.
Yep.
So yeah, why don't you all send us some questions?
Anybody.
Comment on YouTube, email us, and
If you want us to talk anything about, I mean, we've done our fair share of studying financial stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We know a lot about money.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have any questions about that, we'll take any questions that you have. Yeah.
And then outside of the camp, the camp is we are within the 2-week mark for early registration, depending on when you are hearing this podcast.
Yep.
But it's a 1 month and 1 day away that the camp starts, the brass camp. We are just a couple kids shy of our goal for the camp. So this is actually going to be a pretty sizable group.
Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of energy to this. And I would say that if you're interested, man, get registered before the price goes up. And, there's going to be a lot of energy in the camp. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Very excited.
Yep, it's going to be, I mean, especially with Kevin Finnemore, man. I'm so excited. Sometimes I forget that we're going to have him there.
Yeah.
It's like, it's going to be sweet.
Oh,
like,
yeah, and by the way, we have a world-class guest artist coming.
Yeah, and I will become the student.
Right.
The teachers will become the students. So.
Right.
Anyway, so that's part one. What do you want to call this series? On the fly.
What a music career looks like? That's not very sexy. How to make it in music?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll work.
How to make it in music.
Assuming that we've made it.
I mean,
we're not starving. So that's part of it.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, okay. We'll sign off in this one. We'll be back next Wednesday.
Yeah.
With part 2.
Doses.
Peace out.